afternoon, Emma. I know on weeks like this, you don't look at tables, you don't look at permutations, but your dad's always got something to say. So what's he had to say this week?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. He spoke about the performance of Neve, Charles, and particularly how well he thinks she's doing. And I agree with him. I think Neve's in a really, really good space. Talked about how much we've missed Pernilla Harder this year, that link between Sam and the midfield, and that he loves nothing more than coming to Kingsmeadow when it's sold out to play Arsenal.
Does he think you're going to win the league?
He would never, ever, ever say anything like that to me. Honestly, like, I've grown up around a dad where it's never good enough anyway with regards to some of those things, so there's zero chance that I would ever let my head think about winning anything before it's won.
Talk to us about Harder and Ericsson. Lovely video, very emotional yesterday. And the bit that I noted more than anything is the fact that they talk about having the best time of their life here. What was the bit that got you, and how sad are you that they're not going to be a part of Chelsea going forward?
Listen, I think I said it almost in a little bit in the statement. There's not enough words to describe the impact Magda, particularly because she's been here longer, has had on the club, and we had a chat about it today, that people don't really realise what this culture is unless you're in it, and it's a culture that Magda has, especially alongside me, driven the standards. And I'd say Millie Bright too. The three of us have been the standard bearers. And I know how emotional Mags will get with things, so I know that was really tough for her yesterday. It was a tough day, and I know that she's also probably glad it's out there. And for us as a football club, we choose to manage things like this. We don't believe in there has to be bad endings. We think our experiences together have been positive and they've been worthwhile and meaningful. So we don't have to be cynical about it. Like, we don't part in bad ways. And also I think for Pernille, she's one of the most eccentric characters I've ever coached. I will miss her eccentricity, no question. Her attention to detail, our thirst for winning, is both of them are going to provide their next club with an absolute lot of quality, and we've lost a lot, no doubt, but we're equally happy for both of them, and we're very proud of everything they've done here.
Whose decision was it?
I think you're going to know publicly. I'm never going to have them conversations. It's private between us all. And all I know is that, we're prepared, and that we're prepared for our future too. So, that's the important thing, that, they know what they're doing. We know what we're doing for the next steps, and I think it's about celebrating all of our work done together and have a celebration of those things instead of, look for the negativity in any of it.
I wanted to ask you, you mentioned her just now, Millie Bright. Saw her obviously on crutches for John Terry celebrating on the weekend, but I wondered how she is and when we might see her back. We haven't really had an update from you for a little while.
Do you know what? I haven't mentioned the John Terry stuff to her.
It's very good.
It's brilliant. I wonder, whose idea that was, but, very good of her to think of that. I think it was fitting. I actually just sat with her now, still on crutches. I think she'll be okay, but when you have a surgery, you guys ask these questions every week about timelines. The realities are she's had her knee cleaned out, and sometimes, give or take a week or two, it might be a little bit earlier, might be a little bit later. So I expect Millie to make the World Cup, as I said then, but there's no guarantees of anything in life. But I know she saw the surgeon a couple of days ago, and they were really happy with it. So I have no reason to believe she won't make it.
And just finally for me, you obviously play your game earlier in the day. Will you watch the Manchester derby? Will you watch it as a group? Will you watch it at all?
I said this the other day and I'll stand by it. I don't know what time our kick-off is. I don't. What time is our
Just be
kick-off?
up in time and ready to go.
Is it 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock?
12:30.
I absolutely prefer the earlier game because you get some of your afternoon back.
To do what? If you're not watching, what will you be doing?
I'm telling you now, my son asked this morning, he didn't want to go to school, he wanted a 3-day weekend, and I said, I promise you Sunday afternoon we'll take you out on a new bike and I'll take him and his cousins for a roll around North London, and that he will come first Sunday afternoon. Of course someone will tell me, but I'm pretty certain I won't be sitting down and watching it at home. It's nicer light evenings, I definitely won't be.
Thank you.
Jo, next please.
Emma, after the final, you said everyone had to be on the bus by 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
How did the celebrations actually turn out?
Everyone was on the bus because I made sure every single person made it, including my staff. Do you know what? It was actually really nice. We just got to go and have something to eat with our families and sit in a space, and I'm sure you appreciate after those sort of days, that heat, third game in a week, something like 15 games in the last 2 months. It's been it's been so full on. You think that it's all celebratory. It isn't. It's actually just really relaxing. So everybody chilled out, sat with their family, and I had them back in 11 a.m. meeting following day. So, and everyone's been great, to be fair. No complaining from anyone.
Last final push, last 2 games. How's everyone looking heading into Sunday?
Yeah, had a good session today. A day off yesterday, so relatively light. 45-minute session today. Everyone bar Millie and Fran. I know I always have to mention the players aren't there. Everybody's available.
And title deciders aside, how much do you look forward to these games against Arsenal, particularly at home?
Yeah, I love them. I've made no secret of that. I think it's fair to say I don't think we've performed at our best against Arsenal, particularly the last game. I think Arsenal have shown their spirit, their qualities, even with their injuries. They are a top team. They're deserving of all of the good stories that are coming their way, because I think they've been a fantastic team this year, and they've shown that through adversity they can cope, and they have players that can step up, and I know Jonas will probably be proud of his team for that reason. So I think it will be a cracker. 2 top teams on show, and let's hope the sun's out at 12:30. Thanks for the kick-off time.
Thank you.
We come to you, Liz.
Hi Emma, how are you?
Hey.
How hard has this title race been compared to previous ones? Because you've not only had just one team that you've had to go and chase down in United, but Arsenal and City for most of the season.
I think the hardest part is the games accumulation. It isn't the race per se, because there was a period where we didn't play a league game for a month. It's just playing so many games that becomes the challenging part. I think we had something like 24 games this half of the season. Next year the schedule will have us playing 27 games in the second half of the season, and more the first half, because it will be a shorter season. But at this team's ability to play, and bear in mind we go home, probably don't sleep till 2 a.m. on a night game, maybe get a day off, not always, come in and then go again 3 days. To do that the vast majority of this year, I said it in the cup final, I don't think anybody really realises how hard it is to win once and then do it again and again and again. I think this team has been unbelievable. To play a cup final on Sunday, 3rd game of the week, then go and do what we did against West Ham, that just epitomises what the group's been about. I think it's less about the title race and more about managing the accumulation.
You mentioned scheduling there. I mean, I was having a chat with some people after the game at West Ham the other night, and it seems a real, for me, I've never played football, won a title, anticlimactical for you and your players and your staff to go home after Sunday if you beat Arsenal and then find out 7 hours later you're champions. I mean, there's no big celebration on the pitch, there's no fireworks going off, no trophy to be given in front of your home fans. Is that a slight angst with you going into the weekend that you're not going to have this moment if Sunday goes your way?
No. No, not at all. I think you just got to focus on what you can do and just try and keep chalking up results. So I think that's the priority. Just think about that. Don't think about the game later on in the day and what the outcome of that might be. Yeah, no, I don't worry about that. Listen, we won a league in COVID once when it was given to us over the telephone. So nothing's going to get more anticlimactic than that, is it? This is yeah. We still get the chance to. Look, I think first of all we have to be really respectful. We haven't won anything. Got to play arguably one of the best teams in Europe this year, Arsenal on Sunday, and that will be extremely challenging. I think Arsenal are a top team, so I'm not thinking about the outcome.
A couple more quickly. Last season I was here at this time and you were saying goodbye to some players like Drew Spence who went to Spurs and what have you. I get the impression it's quite hard for you to say goodbye to your players. They're almost like your children.
I love them, I do. But and as I say, I'm proud of P and Mags, and I'll watch them and keep an eye on them. And I know the relationships we've had. That's why for me, I want to protect those conversations because they're personal. But when you coach someone, you coach them for life in so many different ways. They come back. So many players I'm still connected to throughout my career that you're just always keeping an eye on them and then each other. I know when I struggle, I'll always hear from former players asking after me, things like that. So, yeah, I don't think that that will change. But what I'm massive on is that as a football club, it's important we send players who meant a lot to us off in the way that we want to do it. Forget the way the rest of the football world wants to do it. This is how we want to do it. And for P and Mags to have their moment yesterday, I think they're so important. And they get the chance to say goodbye to the fans. And trust me, that means more than anything to the players, just as it means as much to Paul and I that you have to put your ego aside and say, stop worrying about, fans are going to talk about why are these players leaving. Put that aside. These are two players who deserve that stage, and let's give them that.
Has this finally been your most emotional season here? Because you had to step away for a little bit. Paul took over.
Emotional? No. I think I've had a hard year. I had a lot of health issues earlier on in the year. So I think it's been hardest on me. But I also know when you build an environment for so long, so many people can feel it. So pleasing in another way because of seeing the responsibility different departments are able to have because we've taught them so well.
Brilliant. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks.
Hi Emma.
Hello.
I just, obviously earlier on you talked about the culture that people don't really understand. I'd love to sort of understand it better. Could you put sort of what is the essence of that culture that you've managed to create here, if you could put it in a sentence?
I don't know how you could package it up so succinctly. Something that's been built. That's the point. Is we've built it. It's not made of flimsy cardboard. It's a solid house, and that house has been built of years of getting things right off of the pitch, the relationships, between the players, the staff, the standards that have been set. The demands that are placed from each other in a daily way. That takes years to cultivate. So, when I hear people say things like, well, don't worry, they won't compete next year because they're losing these players, I think is the most ridiculous thing to ever say about this team, because this team has been built on a solid foundation that as you've seen this year, we haven't always been at our best and we haven't always had our best attacking players, but we still find ways. And I'm sure that we will continue to compete without any control of winning, because nobody has that. And I'm sure if you sat any one of our players down here, they probably would struggle to articulate it too, because, as I've always said, when you talk about culture too much, or you talk about having happy family or these things, I always worry about people when they talk about like those stuff, because you shouldn't have to talk about it or mention it. And I know that when we look at each other, we all get it, but trying to tell anybody else who's outside of it, that's really, really challenging to do.
Just one final question from me, because with the top four all playing each other, it's such a big weekend for the Women's Super League. And if you're someone who doesn't often or usually watch the Women's Super League, what can you say about this weekend and what people might expect from an exciting culmination?
Well, listen, 4 top teams. You're watching 4 of the best in the country vying for the combination of winning the league, Champions League places, or someone missing out. I mean, it's remarkable our league has reached. This is that point where 4 teams are pushing on the last couple of games. That's why I think our league, particularly in Europe, stands apart from anything else. And you know, you're watching a game that's got some of the best talent on show and the best fans.
Thank you.
Cool. Any more? Susie?
Hey Emma,
Hey.
how do you feel the Magda-shaped hole in the dressing room?
Oof. What I've learned is that you can't, so don't do it. Don't try to. So I said it when G left, like you can't, G, you're never going to feel that, but you sprinkle different magic into the room. There's no point replacing Magda for anyone, but I know with the players we've got coming in, it will bring another dimension and add different diversity to the dressing room. I think that's probably the important thing. And I want people to be who they are. I don't want them to mould into anything else. But I also recognise that dressing rooms, from season to season, they take shape in a different way. And I'm excited for the characters that are coming in next year that will bring different presence than Magda.
You've spoken before about Magda being a great leader and a potential future Chelsea manager one day. Like, is this really goodbye? You're going to be keeping an eye on her career in that sense as well?
Oh, no question. I'm pretty certain there'll be games she'll play and I'll ask her tactically things, and in return we'll do things and she'll ask me things tactically. We talk tactics a lot, but it's not just that. She's really champion of, you know, the introverts in the group, those that are not always so vocal. She's always so fair, so balanced in everything she does. So I've no doubt she'll be a coach. And sometimes I always say to her when she asks why we're doing certain things, and I'll say to her, it's because of this, because of that, because of that. And you have to remember that, because when it's your turn, it's important for you to remember why certain things are being done. I've tried my best. I don't want to end her playing career. She's got lots of years left, but I've been trying to drop little things along the way so that when her time comes, she won't necessarily take it on board now, but I know she will down the line. We leave in a good place with each other. It's not a fractured relationship. It's a good relationship, and one where I'm sure we'll stay in touch because she loves the club.
And then Conti Cup, a lot has been made about how much winning that trophy has had a galvanising effect on Arsenal. Has it had a galvanising effect on Chelsea as well, in a sense, in that, like, has it helped you towards this push?
I think so. It's happened 2 years running. It seems a theme here. We lose the opening game and we lose the Conti Cup 2 years running. That's why I say it's so much harder coaching a team that's won a lot, because just you get a little relaxed in your brain. And that's not to take anything away from Arsenal's performance or anybody else's. I merely refer to my group when we're not at our best. From the outside, you might see the opponent or see them. Well, I know our players. So when I know this part here is off our levels, that's when I will be most frustrated. And Conti Cup, for me, the performance by our standards was unacceptable.
And then if Chelsea do win another double, third in a row, what, like, optics of that and the league doesn't look great, right? Like from an outsider's perspective, a team winning a double 3 seasons in a row. What would you say to people looking at the league, looking at that, and how actually competitively different it has been this season? Because it has been markedly different.
Well, that's up to you to write it in the right way, because you and I both know this isn't Arsenal ladies from 10, 15, 25 years ago. This is a different situation. And of course, leagues are not being won 5, 6, 7 games in advance. They're being won on the last day, 3 years running. So as much as it might look like that, it's a league of margins. And at the moment, up until this point, we're the team that have narrowly managed to win it.
The last one, you may not be watching the later game. Do you know if the players are together?
I don't think they'll watch them together. I think the bus will come back and probably, they'll probably just disperse to their home. They might watch them in small groups. I don't actually ever know what they watch. I do know when I look at the huddle accounts how little players really, really do watch. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them didn't watch it. They don't watch enough football for me.
Thanks, Emma.
Could I just ask, how much do you do succession planning when, big players like this leave? It feels sort of like when you look on the social media, all of a sudden 2 great players leaving, but how far in advance have you been planning, and from within and from outside, people coming in?
Yeah, we plan way in advance.
Yeah.
Way in advance. I think, again, I don't like to say too much, give too much away, but nothing is a surprise for us in our situations. It's strategic and we have planned for what we need to do.
How many of the ingredients are inside the building, and how many do you have to sort of get outside? How do you sort of balance those 2 needs,
What does that mean?
Like, cause you've got younger players coming through who are probably capable of fulfilling some of, the qualities that they have, but also you might want to buy some in as well, right?
Listen, it's really difficult for any 18, 19, 20-year-old to get into this team. So while they might have them, it's best for them to be developing first and foremost. We're a top side. It's not easy for experienced internationals to get into this team, let alone young players. Lauren James being the exception, but had probably 3 years worth of league experience to some extent behind her. The external factors is about needs, profiles and needs, and those things are done between me, Paul Green, TJ O'Leary in particular. The 3 of us strategically plan over a period of time, and as I said, we're almost done for the summer, not because of the work we've done in the last few weeks, but the work we've done over the last 18 months.
Okay, great. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Good insight. Yeah.
Cool. Jane?
Yes, please. Massive home game on Sunday,
Yeah.
Emma. What is your message to the fans? Last home.
Atmosphere. I want an atmosphere. I love Kingsmeadow. I know I advocate going to Stamford Bridge, but I love Kingsmeadow. A bit like watching that Sheffield Wednesday game last night. Oh my God, I wanted to be in the crowd with those fans. Nothing beats an atmosphere where fans are close to the stadium and close to the pitch and perform and participate in the way that those Sheffield Wednesday fans did last night. So I know our fans are capable of that, and we certainly need them on Sunday.
And what are the chances of renewing that Special K, the Kirby Kerr relationship next season?
Yeah, sure. I think Fran's had a successful surgery. The piece of bone's been taken out of her knee. She'll be back in with the group in pre-season. And I think she will need that pre-season, something she didn't get last year. But I'm excited that for them. I think without that knee problem, we would have had her back. But it was one that, unfortunately we couldn't avoid the surgery in the end.